Hi, and welcome to the first ever episode of The Hunt, a weekly show dedicated towards helping hiring managers and job seekers navigate the ever-changing landscape of the recruiting world. My name is Kevin Roth. I'm a director of recruiting with Advice Personnel. We are a full-cycle recruiting agency serving the New York area for over 35 years. And today I am joined by Sal Saccoccio, my trusted partner, mentor, advisor, friend, confidant, and
Got any more?
and more and many more. Sal, how's everything going?
I'm doing good, Kev. How you doing?
Hanging in there. You hiding from the kids. Sal has two young twins at home, so like many of you out there, he understands how to hide from family members when you need to get important things done. Where are they right now?
I'm in the basement. They're upstairs. I've got the latch on the door, so they can't find me.
Yeah, you look energetic, so I guess it's one of the good days today.
I got like 5 hours of sleep last night. It was awesome.
All right, so that's a new record.
It's an improvement.
So Sal's an 8-year veteran with Advice. You've been here quite a while. You're coming close on that 10-year mark. So you've been in the industry for a while now.
Yeah, I am getting grayer by the day too.
Yeah, well, you haven't caught up to me yet.
Soon enough.
But as we mentioned, the purpose of this show is to really provide insight and guidance to people that are constantly navigating different challenges, whether you're hiring talent, looking for a job. So we'll use, our constant conversations throughout the course of each week to bring real valuable content to the audience, and hopefully, you guys find it helpful, and it'll be an interactive show. We'll take questions and really try to touch on the most pressing topics going on in the recruiting world. So we'd be hard pressed to not start our very first episode by talking about a word that is on everybody's mind in COVID. And everybody we speak to seems to have a different impression of how this is impacting them and how the business is being affected, how the role is being affected. So Sal, just to give a little consensus to it, what are you seeing as it relates to COVID and where we stand now?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway over the past couple of weeks is how much the market's really picked up. I think we've seen a lot of companies realizing that this is kind of the new normal in a sense, right? And the phrase that everyone keeps using. And we're seeing a lot of companies come out of hiring freezes. A lot of them realizing their business hasn't been as affected as they really thought it might be initially. We're seeing a lot of the market really picking up, which has really been a good sign.
Now, is that just recruiter fluff? Because you work in the industry, as do I. You clearly want people to want to hire and want to do stuff. But you're telling me there's really activity going on and really things heating up since we started?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe the first week, I think there was that initial gut reaction by everyone to kind of slow down and really take a pause and take the temperature of this entire thing and how long it might last. But over the course of the past 3-4 weeks, we've really been seeing the market pick up. We've got a lot of activity going on. We see companies that we've been working with for years really looking at this and realizing it's a nice opportunity to take advantage of the market and the talent pool that's out there too.
Yeah. So then that being said, so there are opportunities out there, but what I'm finding, and I know a lot of us have been talking about, we call people and reach out with these opportunities, and it's almost like we're crazy. They pick up the phone, they answer. People think you have to be out of your mind to actually consider looking for a job right now.
Sure.
Because everything they hear in the media, what their friends are telling them. So is there any logical reason why anyone especially someone who's gainfully employed, would look for a job in this market?
Yeah, I don't think there's no reason not to, right? We're in a position where, almost everyone's in a very similar situation. Working remotely, you've been working remotely for the past couple of months, likely going to continue working remotely for the near and maybe foreseeable future too. But think about the positives. Think how easy it might be to interview right now compared to when you're back in the office, right? The ability to take a 30-minute phone call from a recruiter, a 30-minute phone call from a hiring manager, hop on a Zoom, right? Think about that compared to sometimes the trials and tribulations you had to go through while being in New York City trying to navigate your way to an interview during rush hour.
Yeah, we could probably do a whole episode on stories of people trying to get creative to figure out how to interview. We've had people leave suits at our office because the office is more casual, come to our office, change Superman style in the
Clark Kent,
and then make it out to the interview on time. I don't know if a lot of people remember that. People are so quick to say, it's awkward. I'd rather interview in person. But when you got to interview in person, you got to take a half day off. You got to map out on 5 different map routes, what the proper way is, and prepare for traffic to get there on time. If you're running late, you're freaking out. If you're early, you got to stay at Starbucks for 2 hours. Shout out to Starbucks, not an official sponsor, but
maybe one day.
But yet you had to go through all these trials and tribulations. It was like an adventure. And now, 5 minutes before the interview, you could sit down in front of your desk, make sure the lighting's right, you have a good attire on, maybe fix up your makeup a little bit, and
you can pop on like a cool Zoom background too sometimes, depending on how casual a company is.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on the company, we don't condone that for certain companies, but we're here to coach you on that. But yeah, no, it's a great point. So outside of the ease of interviewing, because it really is a much less stressful, more simplistic. You're in your zone. You think of home field advantage.
Yeah.
When you're in your own house, you're not waiting in the lobby, getting nervous. In your own house, your comfort zone. That's when you could really do your best work. So outside of being easy to interview, what other reasons could there possibly be for actually exploring something now?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good thing because you can look at it in the sense of getting ahead of the competition, right? Like there are a lot of people out there that are very hesitant to even think about interviewing right now, or even taking a call from a recruiter like us or a company, or responding to that email that they might get, right? So there's a lot less competition in the market, and you may have a much better shot at landing that dream job of yours, right? Something where you may have been competing with 20, 30, 40, 50 candidates in the past. That competition might not be as deep as it was, right? So it's a really good opportunity just to get out there and see what might be present in the market for an individual of your skill set.
Yeah, and some people would challenge that and say, but what about all the people that are unemployed? But really, if you think about your core area and your core focus, it might not be as flooded as you think in terms of the market. And I tend to think about, like, you ever drive down the street and you're in traffic and there's like 15 people in the left lane and we're all waiting at a stoplight, and the right lane has nobody in it. It's wide open and you want to get to your place as quickly as possible, but there has to be something wrong with that right lane that no one's taking advantage of it. So you sit in the left lane with everybody else and you kind of wait it out. And that one person who is more of the trailblazer of the group drives into that right lane, pulls up to the front, car doesn't explode, nothing happens, light turns green, and he's ahead of everybody. And you're beating yourself up that you didn't go to that side. Mm. And that's what's happening right now. We're hearing a lot of people tell us, well, none of my friends are looking. They think it's a crazy time to look. But that's just a small sample size. Think if your friends have that mindset, then that's a good feeling that the general population probably has that same mindset. So if there are opportunities out there, but no one's going for them, and they're good opportunities, and you have underlying issues with your workplace, that's a beautiful situation of supply and demand for yourself to get ahead of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people freeze in the sense where, they think that now that, this market and not really, they think they have to be crazy to look, they forget all the issues that they had, right, at their company, because maybe they're not in the office and maybe they don't see as many people day in and day out, right? But a lot of the times the situation's not changing just because we're essentially in a pandemic.
No, you're absolutely right. I think what's to say that your company isn't going to be affected by this? Mm. Everyone forgets that. I'm gainfully employed now. But if there's a company hiring, odds are if they're hiring through this landscape, they're in a pretty good spot, because we've seen a lot of companies that have turned the lights off and are holding off on doing anything if there's any risk. So if there's a company that's actively hiring, pursuing, that seems good, odds are they're in a pretty confident spot to be going that route in the middle of this.
Yeah.
And just because you have a job, don't mistake that for being secure, because that could change any day. You get asked to thousands of people who are amazing at their work and could have never in the world, in their mind, thought that they would have been filing for unemployment, that got blindsided overnight. So don't be complacent just because you're employed. Continue to challenge the status quo and stay proactive.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Kev.
Yeah. So what about from the client side? Because now you have companies who also, when you talk to companies, it seems like they're a little hesitant. Even if they're in a good financial spot, is this the right time? Should I really go? Like, do you have companies that are starting to look for people? Like, what challenges are you sensing from companies as it relates to whether they should hire or not?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to them trying to assess the landscape and how long this could potentially last, right? But I think everyone's kind of seen over the course of time that things that you can manage the work from home setup, right, and that you can really have employees that you trust, day in and day out, that are able to manipulate this, right? And we want companies, and you look at these companies that are hiring right now, to realize that it's a good time to take advantage of the talent pool, right? Like there's a lot of really good talent out there in the marketplace that may have been affected by COVID, and it doesn't mean that they were a poor performer. It doesn't mean that they weren't good at their job or anything like that. It's just kind of the nature of the beast, and a lot of companies were immediately really affected by this and had to take some actions. And honestly, most companies should look at it as an advantage for them, where if you're in a position where you can hire, take advantage of the talent pool that's out there, because there are so many individuals out there that are great at their jobs and are really, really solid professionals that are looking for their next home.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. We get hired to find a certain caliber of people for these companies, and I can tell you there are candidates who I have tried every way under the sun to get in touch, from mutual connections, messages, phone calls, wanted ads on
Yeah,
the
great
classified,
white buffalo.
and I could name those people by memory and visualize their LinkedIn
See their
picture.
faces.
How
They
yeah,
haunt you in your dreams.
exactly. They haunt my dreams because of how much I've tried to get in touch with them over the past few years when no one was making a move. And now those very same people are reaching out to us. And through no fault of their own, companies struggling, they're looking. So if you're a company that has the ability to take advantage of that type of marketable talent, the unattainables, the untouchables, that if you had a short list of 3, 4, 5 people, they were on it every
Yeah.
single time and you could never get them to answer. Now's the time to revisit that, and now's the time to take advantage, if you are one of the fortunate companies, to be in a situation that you can hire and need to hire.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about the competition, right? And thinking about some of the other companies in the landscape that are hiring or not hiring or holding back. I think it's also important to think about some of the struggles that companies are thinking about in relation to hiring, right? It's not just can we hire and can we sustain, but now it's what comes along with that, right? And the biggest question, one segment of this show that we want to make sure we work into every single week is questions from you guys, questions from people that are going through these situations every single day and are battling with it and have no other forum to reach out to besides friends. That's what this show is all about, and we want to get those questions. So for this week, some of the common themes we've been seeing around this, the biggest question mark over the course of this time period has been, is it really possible to onboard someone remotely? Like,
Yeah.
is that doable? Like, that's never been really done to an extreme extent, certain fields more than others. How do you put people at ease that that's something that's possible?
Yeah, I think we've seen, several weeks. And I think at the same time, there are so many, companies that are out there nowadays that are also like 100% remote, right? So there are a lot of individuals that, maybe in people and culture roles, and that have never been faced with this in the past, but they have kind of the potential to rely on their networks and talk to some of those companies that, have had the ability to do that in the past, and have had to onboard remotely. It can be a little bit of a challenge, I guess, if you've never done it before, but I think we're really seeing like the landscape of how things are changing, and how this could really become, kind of the new normal, where we're going to have to do this much more frequently. So it's really important to get that plan and that process in place now before it gets too late.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I mean, I think companies need to realize this is the reality, and this is the future. And even speaking to a lot of companies now, I have very few people thinking they're ever going back to working 5 days a week in the
Yeah.
office every single week. So there are going to be employees that are going to start up remotely or have less frequency in the office. It's not going to be the same as it was. So do you want to be backpedaling and left lagging behind, or do you want to be at the forefront of this and start hiring, start learning, start getting the kinks out, start having a process in place, so when you do really ramp up and the company does start to really hire a lot, you have a proven track record of what works, what doesn't. Companies that are going to first start experimenting with this 2 months from now because they finally come around, it's too late. You missed your window to really take advantage of the market. So it is possible. There are companies doing it, and use your network, use your resources, reach out to friends, colleagues, other hiring managers, people that have hired, reach out to your trusted recruiters, reach out to us,
Yeah.
call us, and we'll guide you through that stuff from what works and what doesn't and what we've seen have success. But get educated, research now, and find out information because it works. And if you try to convince yourself it won't, then you're just getting into a mindset that is ultimately going to harm you in the long run. You want to be at the forefront of this thing to be able to continue to attract top talent. And the companies that are at the forefront of it are going to be the ones that reap the benefits.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like to that point as well. Like, the ones that are at the forefront are the ones that are going to be able to capitalize on the talent that's out there in this market, right? If you're lagging behind, it takes you another, several weeks or months to kind of get your remote setup in place or your remote onboarding. You might have the potential to really miss out on some talented individuals. And the ones that are first to act there, to your point, are really reaping the benefits too.
Yeah, and that just brings up one quick point before we wrap up. So we talked about the client side and why it's so important to get these remote processes in place and get hiring managers comfortable that this can be done if the right planning is in place. On the flip side of that, I've seen a lot of candidates worried, right? People are used to, you come into the office, you get trained one-on-one, you're with your hiring manager, they can see you working, you have a structure, you're visible, and it's really historically the only way to start a new job. So we're getting a lot of feedback that candidates are uncomfortable starting remote, having to manage themselves. I think a lot of it's also an insecurity around the hiring manager can't see you working. So is there questioning over what you're good at? What if information gets lost in email? You can't just go to your hiring manager's office and ask. What do you tell these people that are ready to make a move, that need to make a move, that want to make a move, that find the right move, and just feel very uncomfortable that they're going to be set up for failure starting in remote?
Yeah, I think, to some extent you kind of come out of your comfort zone here, because it is, the wave of the future in a sense, right? And I think you're just going to have to, maybe in the beginning, work a little bit harder to keep that communication flowing, right? Reaching out to your manager, reaching out to your supervisor, having those check-ins, daily or twice a day, really, to make sure that everyone's on the same page and the expectations are aligned. It can definitely be done. It might take a little bit more effort on both ends in the beginning to make sure that everyone's on the same page. But getting past that fear and realizing that this is a situation that can absolutely maybe produce like some really solid positives down the line, and really be able to reap those benefits. I think getting out of your comfort zone, taking it head on. I think you'll realize how strong you actually are, rather than kind of having some of those insecurities.
Yeah, and 100%. Listen, we don't want to be naive. For everybody listening to this that's saying, you guys are making it seem so positive, this is unprecedented times. We know it's tough times for a lot of people dealing with COVID and layoffs and unemployment. But what we're trying to get across is there's positive signs out there. There's optimism in the market, some sectors more than others. Companies are hiring. We're seeing more and more of it every single week. People are taking jobs. And if there's underlying issues with where you are, continue to search. This is the new norm. Get used to it. Get educated. And if you're a company that's looking to continue to build, continue to make additions, now's as good a time as any to take advantage. So there's a lot of positives to take from this if you can really be forward thinking and really try to think positively and reach out to us. Contact us. We're here to help. If there's any insight that we can give, perspective on the market, that's what we're doing every single day. And that's what this show's all about as well. So that's going to do it for this week. I mean, I wish I could tell you that Sal's going to be back every week, but we are going to rotate around guests. We're going to have really interesting perspectives from different team members and advice, different hiring managers across the industry. So really giving a good broad perspective. So Sal, I hope you don't take offense to that. Hopefully we can have you back if from this show alone you don't get too big and leave us for some major news network.
Yeah, I actually got a call from ABC while we were on this. I think maybe weatherman. It sounds like a good career path.
Yeah, I think from what I hear, you can't go wrong there. 50% chance of
yeah, there you go.
No offense to the weathermen out there as weathermen and women. It's a very difficult job. But so we hope you guys really got some good context. Like our page, Advice Personnel. Our link is added to the post, and as well as our own personal profiles. Connect with us. Send us messages. Tell us what you think. Comment, share. Go to adviceny.com for more information on the company and the business and what we do. But more important than anything, reach out to us. Send us your questions. Send us your comments. And we'll try to work as many as possible into next week's episode. But absolutely tune in next Friday. We thank you for joining us on this very first episode of The Hunt. And just think, in 20 years from now, you remember where you were when you watched this first episode and how big it became. And you could say you were one of the original followers, and we'll have like a big reunion for all our original fans. But we thank you guys for tuning in, and we look forward to hopefully helping guide a lot of you through the hiring process and finding jobs and really hiring great talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to seeing you guys every week.